Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, guys, today we're going to get back on this bathroom remodel, and we're hopefully going to get these floors put in. Now, off camera, I had cleaned up the edge in here, and I've got a little bit more that I need to clean up on the far edge and pull a small little section of floor out still on the other side of this wall behind me. But before we do that, Katie wants me to pull a plant out of the yard, a mullein plant that she's going to take to somebody, so I got to go do that first. All right, guys, as we walk down the driveway, I got to tell you, it is a absolutely beautiful spring morning. Just very fresh, sweet smell in the air as things are blossoming and whatnot. Beautiful day today. Absolutely beautiful. All right, so apparently this is the plant that Katie wants me to dig out or clip. What are we doing exactly with it?
We're going to take the whole plant out, and I'm taking it to a friend of mine who's an American Indian, and mullein is really good for your lung function. So she is going to make tinctures out of it, and she's actually going to sell it at our local farmer's market for people.
Okay, so we're taking the whole plant out.
Yes.
All right, then why did you give me a bread knife?
Because I want you to cut it from the bottom.
So you just want me to cut it, not actually dig it out?
Well, if you could dig it out, yeah.
So does she want the whole plant or does she want the leaves?
I guess all of it.
Then I need a shovel.
Maybe if it's really deep.
All right, guys, I got my hand underneath it and I was able to pull it out, roots and all. It didn't have a very deep root structure. Pretty simple. So we're going to put it in this bag so she can take it to Tasa. All right, so now that we are done messing with mullein, we have got to get back on these floors. Now, off camera, I had pulled out a little bit more floor down here in this corner, a little bit more underneath these walls, and cleaned up everything along the edges in the bathroom itself so that we can get new floors laid down. Now, the purpose of this video really is going to be re-leveling these floors. I've mentioned in videos in the past, and if you're new to the channel, there is a sag in the floor right here. And because it's also where the water leak was, the water pooled in that sag and it just rotted all the floors, which is why it all had to come out. So I don't want to just put new wood in and keep the sag. If you look here, we've got like the crack in the drywall because this wall has sunk down. And I believe I know what the issue is, and I believe that I know how to fix it. But this is a good time to tell you that I am not a home contractor. I'm not even a remodeler or a handyman or anything like that. This is my own home, and we're fixing my things. I'm not telling you that this is the way you have to do it or the way you should do it. I'm just telling you what I'm doing to fix my situation. But that starts with us going downstairs, which isn't really stairs. It's just a crawl space under the house. And I'm going to show you what's going on and tell you my idea of how I'm going to fix it. So the issue here is if I put a level on this floor, this is my 6-foot level. I know that right now it's on wiggly boards, but I checked this on the actual floor joist itself. We are high at the back corner of the bathroom and low at the entryway because all of the joists sag as they meet this double beam right here. Likewise out here, as the floor joists come from the block wall on the exterior of the house towards the bathroom this way, it's going downhill this direction until it meets at that double joist. That double joist is the problem. Now we go downstairs and I'll show you why. All right, and just for reference, up here you see here is my kitchen and my living room, fireplace, bathroom, and then laundry room, office. I'm explaining this just for reference for when we get underneath the house. And I know the house is a mess. It's a construction zone. We got debris, stuff everywhere. It's awful. Don't judge me. Okay guys, so here I am under the house. So I am currently underneath my kitchen. And that over there is the exterior wall. And all of these floor joists run to the center of the house and they sit on this beam that is sitting on pilings. And that center beam runs all the way and sits on the edge of the fireplace base. Now I apologize, for some reason, some of my lights are not working down here and I don't know why. But that's a good solid mount for those beams. And then on the back wall over there, you can see the beams come, or the joists come from that side and rest on the other side of that main beam. Okay, now the other end of the house, I'm currently under my office. There's the hole in the floors. The bathroom is right over there. Same thing, exterior wall. We've got the main beam sitting on the pilings. The floor joist run from the beam to this wall, and from the other side of the beam to that wall. All that seems normal, but here's the problem. You get over here, next to the bathroom, you can see there's a piling there with just wood stacked on it. And the main beam that's on these pilings just stops right here. And you see they got these extra thick pieces built onto there to strengthen it, but they only go to here. And we got this double joist. But right here, look at that. That's part of the problem right there. And I think the reason they did this, because they realized that that main beam is going to run right through the toilet drain pipe. So they had to completely re-engineer the floors at this point. So these floor joists are shorter going to the wall. They hang on this double joist that then attaches to here, and they kind of box that in. And I just think that the leverage was too much. With these joints, they've got the ability to sag, especially with this right here. So I think what I need to do is get a jack underneath this area, build the piling, put a jack on it, and crank that floor back up, which should close up all that gap where I'm having the issues. Now, if you look, the other side of that double beam, where it sits over there, it ties into that joist, but that joist is sitting on that concrete just about a foot away from it. So it's got plenty of support. This one here is 5 feet from the main beam, so it's had the opportunity to sag, plus this is starting to sag down because they didn't have it properly supported. So once again, here from the top, this is that point that we're talking about right there, which is right below where we're having the real trouble with the wall. Now, I know that this problem has existed for a while, and I've known how to fix it for a while, or at least what I'm going to do to fix it. The reason I haven't fixed it yet is because of the rotten floors. Some of the rotten wood right here went underneath these walls. So if you look, there is no wood underneath the walls right through here because I had to dig out all that rotten wood. And it was my goal to do this without ripping down these walls. The walls themselves are fine, other than that they're sagging. And one of the walls is a wall that is shared with my master bedroom, specifically the master closet. And I didn't want to get into doing all that yet. That is a remodel project down the road. But if I would have closed that gap up already by leveling that floor, it would have made pulling these floors out even harder to do and almost impossible to slide new wood underneath. So my goal is this wood that I'm standing on, which is just 23, 30 seconds plywood. It's just kind of loosely screwed down with a couple screws. It's not permanently attached. There's no adhesive underneath it. And it's not even screwed off in full fashion. It's just got like one in each corner and one or two in the center, just to keep them from moving while we walk on them. The idea is I can pull a couple of these out. As I cut my pieces to go in there, I can slide them under the wall into their final resting place, then jack the floor up, put pressure on everything, and then do the final nail down or screw down, whatever I'm gonna do. But if that gap was already too tight, it would be almost impossible to slide that wood underneath these walls. Right now, I've got more than enough room. Now, some of this may have actually been compounded by previous repairs that we've made. When we moved into this house, which was in 2016, it's 2025 now, so let's just say 9 years ago, this wall wasn't sagging this bad. Maybe a tiny bit, but not that bad. But we also had a huge problem with water intrusion underneath this house. There was just water flowing in underneath it every single time it rained, because the way the landscaping had planters built around the base of the house, it wasn't allowing the water to run away from the house. So I had to remove all of that, and then I built a French drain around the house to get the water off somewhere else. And then I completely encapsulated downstairs. When we were just down there, you saw all the white plastic. So it's almost like a clean room down there. Well, not right now with all the construction debris that's falling down in there, got to clean up. And then we put an April Air whole house dehumidifier down there. We're not dehumidifying the whole house, just the crawl space. We insulated, sealed up the rim joist, the whole 9 yards. It was so wet down there before, you could literally see water droplets dripping off of the floor joists. So the water content was just amazingly high. Well, after stopping the water intrusion and doing the encapsulation and getting the dehumidifier down there, it took a while, but it eventually all dried out. But the problem is wood shrinks when it dries. So the wood was all wet and swollen, and it had probably been that way for many, many years. There were definitely mold issues like on the walls and everything in here we had to clean up. But now that we dried it out, the wood moved, it changed, and this problem happened. But it had to be done that way. I didn't want to do a remodel and then have it happen afterwards. So that was one of the priorities, to get that underneath sealed before we do any remodeling in the house. It's taken years to get to this point, but here we are trying to fix the next problem with this home. So maybe the way they designed this floor would have been fine had we not had a huge amount of water intrusion and that we had not dried it out and caused the wood to move. It's maybe just a combination of circumstances that led to this, and normally it would have been fine. But no matter what, we're going to fix it. So moving forward, we don't have saggy walls after I remodel. All right, guys, a lot has happened over the last couple hours off camera. So I have gone through and pre-cut my flooring. You see I've got it notched over here for the toilet. The piece I'm standing on is also notched for the toilet and notched to go around the wall here. I have test fit everything. So I've already slid this under the wall, put it in place, and it works, but I had to pull it back out because I didn't put any glue down or anything yet. So we got to redo it, but I'll show you what I did. So before cutting, I also reinforced around the toilet flange with those two 2x10s that we got a really good solid seating. So when we screw everything down, or we screw the flange down to the floor, it's got real wood to go into instead of just the subfloor. And you see I put these little cross beams in here for dead wood. I did that for a couple of reasons. One, these two, actually all three of these floor joists were kind of bowed a little bit, and that helped to straighten them some. They're not perfect, but they're somewhat better. But also, because where the toilet flange is, I had to notch the wood for it, and it made it easier to do it on a seam than in the middle, because I don't want to cut the top of the flange off. And that just happened to be exactly 4 feet to the center of the flange to the center of this double beam. So it just worked out perfect where my plywood would end here, end there, and then I'll have a little strip I got to cut for the end over there. But now this way, where this piece seams, I can screw it down to something solid and not have any flex in that board right there. I also had to hang a couple pieces of dead wood in this corner so that the end of this board here, where it comes out like kind of like a flag, it's got a place to screw down and not be flexible on the ends. Now, the original subfloor in this house was 1/2-inch plywood, and then the underlayment was a 3/4 inch or maybe 23/32, I don't know, but approximately 3/4 of an inch of like press board, that pressed particle board. And well, when it gets wet, it just crumbles and falls apart, and I really don't want to use that. Now, typically nowadays, what they use for subfloor would be 3/4 inches to the 1/2 inch, but it's that press board. What's nice about it is it's tongue and groove, and it's cheaper. To be honest, I can buy those for like $23 a sheet, where these sheets of plywood are almost $40 a sheet. But I didn't want to use press board. I don't have the tongue and groove here, unfortunately, but that's why I'm trying to land my seams on cross beams there. I'm still going to leave that 1/8 to 1/4 inch of a gap there. I don't think I need a lot of gap, only because of the dehumidifier that's downstairs. We maintain regular temperature down there. It's always 60 degrees underneath this house. It can be 100 degrees outside, it's 60 under the house. It can be 10 degrees outside, it's 60 under the house. So we're not getting a lot of expansion and contraction due to temperature change, especially like you do like up north. But with this conditioned space down here, I'm not as concerned about that gap. I could probably just butt everything up and it'd be fine. So anyway, I've even marked the boards where all of the floor joists are, so that once they're laid down, I know where everything is and I can just go through and screw it all off. But I got a bunch of liquid nail floor joist glue that I'm going to put down there first. We're going to do our best to stop any creaks and groans and everything in the future. But as you see, I did have to pull up a couple of pieces of plywood out here that were temporary. And that's why I only screwed them down with a couple of screws each, because it took me 5 minutes to just go ahead and pull them back up. No glue, no nails, just 4 screws in the corner, and on full sheets I did 2 in the middle. So we still had a little flex when we walked on it, but they came up, and it was only temporary. And yeah, so now we're gonna put this in and make it permanent. Subfloor is now in the bathroom. We got a really good solid floor. It's glued, it's screwed, it's not going anywhere. I do have this little gap right here though, and I even put all my temporary flooring back down out here. I don't have a piece to fill this gap. I know that sounds crazy, right? But I guess the way I did the math and the way I made my cuts, I need an 8-foot strip that'll take it right over that double, that second, not the first double, but the second double. And I don't have anything in that thickness. The wood that I'm standing on is actually 19 32nds. What I put in there was 23 32nds. So I don't want to transition that right there into something thinner. I actually made a mistake when I bought this wood. I thought I was getting the 3/4 or 23 32nds. I read the label, but I guess I pulled the wood off of a different rack. It was confusing. But like Lowe's color codes their lumber. The 23 32nds plywood, their titanium or titanium plywood, has got 5 green stripes down the stack of the plies, and the 19 32nds has 4 black stripes. Everything I'm standing on has 4 black stripes. The stuff I just bought has 5 green stripes. So I can't actually lay the first layer of underlayment on until I finish this. So we're gonna stop for the night until I go get another piece of plywood to finish this up. Okay, after a trip to Home Depot, I got another sheet of the 23 32nds subfloor material that I'm using, which is actually exterior plywood. I know it's a little overkill, it's a little bit more money, but I'm building this for a lifetime, not for something quick and easy. So I've done the measurements here, and we got a slight taper to this board, but as you can see from the exterior wall out, we are already 2 full sheet thicknesses to this point right here, this little seam, and that's to this seam right here. And from that seam to the floor I laid yesterday, we've got like 26 3/8 at this end, 26 3/4 at this end to go under the wall and butt up with that. But I know I want to keep these lines straight, so I'm going to taper that one piece. That way everything else will lay straight when we go to do it. These 2 pieces right here, we're actually going to come up, and then one piece will go in to fill the gap and replace these 2 pieces that are here. And that will be all of the subfloor under the wall. Then we'll work on the underlayment to get underneath the wall. Then we can actually build the jack that we needed to build. All right guys, so I have done the test fit and it's all good. So we're gonna slide this out of the way, get our glue down, and do the final installation of it. I'm hoping this stuff didn't dry up completely overnight, what I used yesterday. There we go, that works. Do something inside, be right back. I was hoping this tube would do it all, but not. All right, had to take a little bit of a break to rebuild the giant caulking gun, but I think we're all good now. except I broke my tip. But just the tip. That's oozing out over there. Okay guys, all of the subfloor in this area that we're working on today is done. So all the 23-30 seconds is put down. Now I'm going to put the half layer on top. This got to go underneath the wall as well. And we can get the jack in the house. So I kind of brought a board in here, marking out where the toilet flange is and cut around for it. I'm going to leave these boards a different way. That way none of the seams line up with the subfloor that we've already put down. So it looks like one full sheet with the cutout and then a little skinny sheet in there. And then we'll have one piece that goes in on the end, slides underneath the wall here. And you'll see I even put this section in down here all the way to where we made the break at the office. And I made sure to get underneath this area here because that doorway is coming out and I've got to fill that in with a wall, so I gotta be able to put a base plate there and frame that in. So these darker colored boards are all the 19-30 seconds. These are the 23-30 seconds. They're planing out pretty close, but not quite. And here I did a little math earlier. So 23 and 15-30 seconds equals 38. 2 19s also equals 38. So as I said earlier in the video, or yesterday's video, I don't remember when it was, that I thought I was getting 3/4 when I got this, but it looks like I got the 19-30 seconds instead of the 23-30 seconds. So I figured I'd just pick this up and then go get some more 23-30 seconds and then do the 1/2 inch underlayment over top. But thinking about it now, I can just leave this here. I mean, I got to pull it up and glue it and screw it still. And I got to adjust it because not all my seams are breaking where they need to be because it was all temporary. And we did this in 2 different phases. So we've got one seam here that, you know, isn't a pretty seam, but we can fix that. But it looks like I can just take another layer of 19-30 seconds and put on top of this. And I still get my 1.25 inches exactly where I need to be. And everything should plane out just fine and not have all of this wood gone to waste. Okay guys, so I got the big piece in. We got the seam running this way around the drain to the wall. That way the seam's going like this instead of in the same place here. We've got a pretty decent joint across here. Now this piece had to be zigzagged because it goes in deeper here. So it came in and then cut in and then comes over to that corner and then cuts back this way to just leave this little narrow spot right here. but that fills everything. Just got to go under the wall. So now, so you just screw it all down.
Back-breaking work. You want to tell me what you're doing, Adam?
Screwing.
Ruin.
Now I'm trying to save my knees.
Yes.
So I'm going a little slower now just so I can.
Don't blame me.
So I'm stitching these seams together. So around all the edges, I'm trying to keep all the screws between 3 and 4 inches apart. In the field, you know, 8 to 10 inches apart. That way this floor doesn't ever lift or walk or warp. Because we're putting tile down, it's very critical. All right, guys, so we finally got all of that underlayment put down and screwed down. Oh, there's so many screws. It took forever. My knees were killing me by the end of it. And I got it done just before we had to run out for dinner last night. So I didn't end up finish recording it. I didn't get a chance to get down there and jack up the house yet. So that is going to be the goal for today, is to finish this. And I've got some cinder blocks outside that I picked up at Lowe's a couple days ago. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of going through the crawl space and carrying them all the way underneath, which, you know, you can't stand up, so I'd have to slide them. So I'm going to pull this one board out right here that I'm standing on, and I'm just going to lower them down right straight through here with a strap or something. And then that way, when I crawl through underneath, they'll just be here where I need them. I think that makes a little bit of sense, so we're going to try that. And Katie is making some pancakes for me and the grandchildren this morning because they were over there hanging out on the couch. She makes these with her sourdough starter that she makes from scratch, not any Bisquick or anything like that. All right, guys, so I've gathered the things that I need. I'm assuming I'll only need about 2 cinder blocks. The jack has an adjustment of like 1 foot 7 inches to 3 foot and change. So I've got some variance there. So I think 2 blocks will be enough. I've got my strap to lower the blocks down into the hole. I got some other scrap wood to try to level the blocks the best I can. Have this little rubber mat, which I'll explain when we get down there, and a 2x8, and of course the level to make sure everything is level. So now I'm down under the house, and here is our concern. You see, got that ledge there where this isn't level. I'm gonna try to stack the blocks down here. I have swept this area where all the debris has fallen from this remodel so that nothing gets trapped underneath here. So I'm gonna build it. Now, this is why I brought that rubber mat. One, I know my floor down here isn't perfectly level, so we're probably gonna have to shim a little bit here and there to get these blocks right. And realistically, the way to do this properly would probably be to dig a little hole here, put a footer, and then stack these blocks and actually cement them in just like they are everywhere else. But we're not gonna do that. I don't wanna break through my encapsulation and then have to reseal all that. And because it's not really supporting the whole house, just this one joist, I think we'll be fine by just building right on top of this. Now, in an effort to not puncture this is why I brought this piece of rubber mat down. It's got diamond plate on one side, but it's almost got like a fleece soft lining on the other. This was actually a floor for a trailer that I used to have. This was a scrap piece when I did the floor. And I think it'll work perfect here to set the concrete blocks on so they don't puncture through our vapor barrier. All right, guys, it looks like I've got it pretty close to being level this way. I've also got it leveled this way. So it's kind of blocked up a little bit. I'm gonna throw the second piece of concrete on top, and then we can work on assembling the actual jack mechanism. All right, so I'm pretty sure I've got my piling right underneath where I need my jack. So we're gonna assemble this, get it together, and make this work, I hope. All right, so basically you've got the jack mechanism, and then there are 2 of these steel plates. There are 2 bolts, 2 nuts. It's actually a pretty simple system. There are the two tubes as well. One is fatter than the other, and you'll see that there are holes in it. On the narrower tube, the side with the holes goes down. And then the screw mechanism, which I've got upside down, right there, and then the top plate. Let's see how close we've got it to being where we need it. Alright guys, it took a few minutes to configure the jack to where it fits up there. I've still got a little bit of a gap at the top. I'm gonna throw a piece of plywood in there just to kind of share the load and help even things out when they go. Now, I'm not quite centered on my piling, so I think I'm gonna make a couple of adjustments before we go any further. You know, it's one of those things that looking at it, it looked like I had it right where I wanted it, but I've got to come this way a little bit and that way a little bit so I can keep this centered on my piling, which may change my leveling a little bit. We'll have to see. I don't have to go far though. Try that right there. I feel like we're still level enough. Yeah, so now I'm centered on my cinder blocks both ways, approximately anyhow. That way the load is shared in a manner that I think is correct. I think, no guarantee. All right, so with that done, we are pretty much ready to start jacking this up. I just gotta go grab the proper wrench. And yeah, we should start being able to put some tension on it. I've got tension on it right now. That's about where it's going to sit. All right, well, I've got a small adjustable wrench here and I put some tension on it. I can see it's starting to lift that one joist just a little bit. I'm gonna go get the level set up upstairs so I can kind of gauge things as I get this level. But there's tension on it now. It's not going anywhere. All right, so I've brought my 6-foot level in here so that I can kind of look at that. You see my bubble isn't centered. It's off this way a little bit. Not as bad as I thought it would be, but we can use that to gauge when we're level. Also out here, looking at that crack, it should close up in theory. And then even if you look at this door, which will come out, but you can see how it sags here because this side of the whole thing has dropped. So as I jack it up, I'm hoping that most of that will go away. All right guys, so I've come back down here and I've double checked level on this, my little torpedo level, both ways. I think we're good. So we're just gonna start cranking this thing up and hopefully we can get it to all level out. Now, a good time to mention, I've got the plate split between this beam and this beam because I wanted to level the two out, and then both of them need to raise just a little bit. All right, we've almost got this where the two beams are level to each other. I still see a little gap underneath here, and it should, in theory, level out, but it looks like it might actually be bending that plate a little bit. Give it a couple more cranks, and we'll go upstairs and see how it looks. All right, let's go upstairs and see. All right, back in the bathroom. Looks like we brought that almost into level completely. It's pretty close. The gap here at the door is obviously a little bit less than it was. Our crack there has closed up considerably, so we're making progress. All right, guys, so I went down underneath and gave that jack a few more cranks, and it looks like got it pretty much where I want it. We're just about level in here. The crack here, I mean, it still exists, but if you look, you don't have the gap there that there was. The floor definitely feels more stable. There's not as much bounce. And our gap here at this doorway has gone away as well. Now, I am assuming that there's going to be some settle. because we didn't pour a foundation underneath that piling, it may kind of sink down a little bit over time. I may have to continue adjusting this. I may even add another jack or two. I bought another one and 2 more cinder blocks. Where that beam comes from that wall and ends, I can see it kind of tapers down a little bit. I may put one there, which is on that same main beam this way where they meet. And I see another joist here going into like the bathroom area that is now hanging down just a tiny bit. So I probably need to level that one. What I may do there is, I don't think it needs a whole jack, but I may just bring the hydraulic floor jack over, put it underneath there, jack that one up just a little bit, and then put a bucket hanger in there like you would, like what they would normally use nowadays. And that will stop that one from dropping below the surface. I think that'll pretty much do it. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go find some fasteners to bolt that jack down to the wood on top of the cinder blocks and up to those rafters, because I've got it so tight now that that top plate wants to rotate when I try to turn it anymore. So I need to secure that from happening, and that'll also stop the jack from being able to slip out. So now, in all honesty, I'm not assuming that I'm going to get all of this in one crank. You know, it sagged over time. It will take time to get it back up to where I want it, but at least we know that we figured out part of this problem. And I thought about something else today, actually, that would contribute to this. Right inside that door, it's actually where I got my big gun safe. So there's a lot of extra weight that's always sitting there right where that joint happens to be. Had I known it was a weak spot in the floor design, I probably wouldn't have put the safe there. But that probably contributed to everything else. The safe, it getting wet, a poor design. Again, the perfect storm making this happen. But I think that's gonna do it for this video. But before we sign off, I wanna wish everybody a happy Easter. Tomorrow is Easter. Most likely the day you're watching this will be Easter. And I hope you guys all enjoy the time with your family and remember what the holiday is all about. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Share, subscribe. We're almost at that 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a huge milestone for a small channel like this that we're trying to build up. So I greatly appreciate it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the channel. Thank you for watching. And until the next time I see you, keep those engines running.